In the quiet suburbs of Bloomfield, a quaint and picturesque town in the heart of the United States, Emily's life was the epitome of tranquility and routine. A 34-year-old art teacher, she found solace in the strokes of her paintbrush and the comforting embrace of her husband Daniel, a charming travel consultant who was always away on business trips. Their cozy home, adorned with framed paintings that reflected Emily's artistic soul, seemed like a sanctuary of love and understanding. Yet, beneath the surface of their seemingly idyllic life, a shadow lurked, waiting to shatter the peace they had carefully constructed. One fateful evening, as the clock struck midnight, a shrill ring shattered the silence, announcing the news of Daniel's sudden car accident. Shock and disbelief gripped Emily's heart as she rushed to the hospital, her mind clouded with fear and uncertainty. Days turned into weeks as Emily struggled to come to terms with the reality of Daniel lying in a hospital bed, fighting for his life. In a moment of desperation, she found herself rummaging through his desk, seeking a glimmer of solace amidst the chaos. It was then that she stumbled upon a locked drawer, hiding a secret that would unravel the threads of her entire existence. Inside lay a box of letters, each postmarked from a city unknown to her, all written by Daniel, but addressed to a woman she had never met. As she read through the words penned with love and longing, a chilling realization crept over her. Daniel had another life, another identity that he had kept hidden from her. The letters spoke of a woman named Sarah, of promises made and dreams shared, painting a portrait of a man she thought she knew, but now seemed like a stranger. With trembling hands and a heart heavy with betrayal, Emily unearthed the truth that had been veiled from her. Daniel had a different name, another family he had tried to escape from before the crash that had altered their lives forever. Determined to seek answers and closure, Emily embarked on a journey to the city mentioned in the letters, a place where secrets awaited her in the dimly lit streets and whispered conversations. And there, in a revelation that would shake the foundation of her beliefs, she discovered the final letter addressed to her. As she read the words penned with love and regret, Emily's world came crashing down, and the truth she never saw unfolded before her eyes, revealing a story of love, loss, and the bittersweet symphony of second chances. What would you do if you discovered a truth that shattered the very fabric of your existence? Share your thoughts and join Emily's quest for closure in the haunting aftermath of midnight letters from my husband's second life. The sound of the doorbell echoed through the quiet suburban house as Emily wiped her hands on a kitchen towel, setting down the paintbrush she had been using. She paused, her heart quickening with a strange sense of foreboding. Daniel was supposed to be on a business trip, yet here he was, earlier than expected. Opening the door, Emily's smile faltered when she saw the grim expression on the police officer's face. Her world seemed to slow down as the officer delivered the devastating news of Daniel's car accident. Numb with shock, she listened as the officer explained that Daniel was in critical condition at the hospital. Days passed in a blur of waiting room chairs and hushed conversations with doctors. Emily clung to the hope that Daniel would wake up and everything would go back to normal. But as she sat in their cozy home, surrounded by Daniel's absence, a sense of unease crept over her. One evening, unable to sleep, Emily wandered into Daniel's home office. The room was filled with the familiar scent of his cologne and the sight of his neatly organized desk. Her gaze fell upon a locked drawer, something she had never seen before. Curiosity mingled with apprehension as she found a hidden key in Daniel's sock drawer. Heart pounding, Emily unlocked the drawer, and her breath caught in her throat as she saw a box filled with letters, postmarked from another city. They were all addressed to a woman she had never heard of. Confusion and disbelief warred within her as she recognized Daniel's handwriting on each envelope. Trembling, Emily began to read. The letters spoke of love, regret, and a life she knew nothing about. As she delved deeper, the truth unfolded before her eyes like a dark painting coming to life. Daniel had another identity, another name, and another family. A life he had been keeping hidden, a secret he had tried to leave behind before fate intervened. With trembling hands, Emily reached the last letter. Her eyes blurred with tears as she read Daniel's final words, addressed to her. In that moment, the fragments of her shattered reality began to rearrange themselves into a new, incomprehensible picture. Who was the man she thought she knew? And how could she find the strength to face the truth that lay buried beneath the surface of their shared life? Emily sat in the living room, the golden light filtering through the window, casting a warm glow over the framed paintings adorning the walls. Her gaze kept drifting to the single locked drawer in Daniel's desk, a puzzle she had yet to unravel. As the daylight faded, she found herself drawn back to the desk. With trembling hands, she inserted the key she had found in Daniel's pocket earlier that day. The drawer creaked open, revealing a hidden box filled with letters postmarked from a city she had never been to. As she read through the letters, each word pierced her heart like a dagger. They were written by Daniel, addressed to a woman named Sarah. The words spoke of love, regret, and a life that Emily had never been a part of. Confusion and disbelief washed over her as she struggled to comprehend the truth hidden in those letters. The more she read, the clearer it became. Daniel had another life, one he had kept hidden from her, another identity, another name, and another family that he had tried to leave behind. Tears streamed down her face as the weight of his deception settled upon her shoulders. With a mix of anger and determination, Emily made a decision. She needed answers, closure, and the truth that had eluded her for so long. She packed a bag, leaving behind the comfort of her suburban life, and headed to the city where Sarah lived. The city was a maze of unfamiliar streets and faces, each corner holding the possibility of the truth she sought. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, she stood before Sarah's door, her heart pounding in her chest. Sarah opened the door, her eyes mirroring Emily's own confusion and pain. Without a word, Emily handed her the box of letters, watching as realization dawned on Sarah's face. Together, they read the final letter, the one Daniel had never sent. In those words, Emily found closure. Daniel had loved her, deeply and truly, but he had been haunted by a past he could not escape. His final letter was a confession, an apology, and a declaration of love for both women he had left behind. As the truth settled over them, Emily and Sarah found solace in each other's company. Their shared grief and loss bound them together in a way only they could understand, and as the night stretched out before them, they found a glimmer of hope in the darkness, a hope for healing, for forgiveness, and for a new beginning. Emily sat in their home office, surrounded by the scent of old paper and dried paint. The box of letters sat before her, its contents a haunting reminder of the life her husband had kept hidden from her. Her hands trembled as she picked up the first letter, the paper crisp beneath her touch. The words on the page were familiar, Daniel's handwriting etched into the lines. But the recipient's name was not hers. It was a name she had never heard before, a name that now echoed through the room like a ghost from the past. Emily's heart raced as she read on, each letter revealing a fragment of a life she had never known existed. Daniel's words spoke of love, of regret, of a desire for a new beginning. They painted a picture of a man torn between two worlds, a man seeking redemption for past mistakes. Emily's mind spun as she tried to reconcile the husband she knew with the man in the letters, a man who seemed both familiar and foreign. She reached for another letter, then another, each one adding new layers to the story of Daniel's hidden life. The more she read, the more she realized how little she truly understood the man she had shared a home with for years. Was their life together a lie? A carefully constructed facade to hide his secrets? As the hours passed and the night crept in through the window, Emily's determination grew. She had to know the truth, had to unravel the mystery of Daniel's second life. With shaking hands, she placed the letters back in the box and locked it away, the weight of their secrets heavy in the air. The next morning, Emily made a decision. She would travel to the city mentioned in the letters to confront the woman who'd been a part of Daniel's hidden world. She needed answers, closure, a glimpse into the truth that had eluded her for so long. With a sense of purpose driving her forward, Emily packed a bag and set out on a journey that would change everything she thought she knew. The road ahead was uncertain, the path unclear, but one thing was certain. She could not ignore the revelations contained in those midnight letters any longer. What would Emily discover in that distant city? Would she find the closure she sought, or would the truth only lead to more questions? And what awaited her at the end of this emotional pilgrimage, where secrets and lies intertwined in a web of deceit and longing? Emily sat at the kitchen table, her hands trembling as she unfolded the latest letter she had found in the hidden box. The paper was worn, the ink slightly faded, but Daniel's handwriting was unmistakable. As she read his words, a mix of anger, confusion, and heartache washed over her. In the letter, Daniel confessed to his other life, his other family. He explained how he had tried to distance himself from that world, how he had fallen in love with Emily and wanted to start anew. But fate had a cruel way of revealing the truth. And now Emily was left grappling with the shattered pieces of her once perfect life. Tears welled up in her eyes as she realized the depth of Daniel's deception. How could he have kept such a monumental secret from her? How could he have led a double life without her ever suspecting a thing? Questions swirled in her mind, each one stabbing at her wounded heart. The cozy home that once felt like a sanctuary now seemed suffocating, the walls closing in on her. She needed answers, closure, a way to make sense of the chaos that had consumed her world. With a determined look in her eyes, Emily stood up, clutching the letter tightly in her hand. She made her way to Daniel's desk, her heart pounding in her chest as she reached for the locked drawer. With a shaky breath, she inserted the key she had found hidden in his closet and turned it, the click echoing through the room like a thunderclap. Inside the drawer, among pens and old receipts, lay a single envelope. Emily's hands shook as she tore it open, revealing a crisp sheet of paper covered in Daniel's familiar handwriting. This was the letter he had never sent, the one that held the key to unlocking the mysteries of his hidden life. As she read his final words, a mix of sorrow and relief washed over her. Daniel's confession, his apologies, his love for her, they were all laid bare in the ink-stained lines. And in that moment, Emily knew what she had to do. Without a second thought, she packed a bag, booked a ticket, and set off for the city where Daniel's other family lived. The truth awaited her there, painful and raw, but necessary for her to find closure. As the plane took off into the night sky, Emily's heart weighed heavy with the burden of the unknown, yet a glimmer of hope flickered in the darkness. What will Emily uncover in the city of secrets? Will she find the closure she seeks, or will the truth only deepen the wounds of betrayal? Share your thoughts and predictions in the comments below. Let Emily's journey resonate with your own experiences of love, loss, and the search for truth. The room felt heavier than usual as Emily sat by the window, a stack of Daniel's letters in her trembling hands. Each inked word felt like a dagger piercing her heart, unraveling the life she thought she knew. She closed her eyes, trying to calm the storm of emotions raging inside her. Daniel's second life, hidden in plain sight, cast a shadow over their once idyllic existence. She couldn't shake the image of him sitting at his desk, writing those letters to another woman, pouring out his heart in a way he never did with her. The weight of betrayal suffocated her, leaving her gasping for air in a reality twisted beyond recognition. The locked drawer in Daniel's desk beckoned to her, its secrets taunting her curiosity. With trembling hands, she found the key hidden beneath a false bottom. As she opened the drawer, a box full of unanswered questions stared back at her. Postmarked letters, secrets tucked away like forbidden whispers in the night. Emily's resolve solidified. She needed to know the truth, to unravel the tangled web Daniel had woven around them. With a newfound determination, she pored over the letters, each page a piece of a puzzle she never wished to solve. The more she read, the more she realized how little she truly knew her husband. As the night crept in, casting long shadows across the room, Emily's mind raced with thoughts of what could have been. Daniel's accident, a cruel twist of fate, had unearthed a truth she was not ready to face, but she knew she had to confront it, to find closure in a reality shattered by deception. With the first light of dawn, Emily made a decision. She would travel to that city to confront the woman who held a piece of Daniel's heart she never knew existed. The journey ahead was fraught with uncertainty, but she couldn't ignore the pull drawing her towards the truth. As the wheels of the plane lifted off the ground, Emily's heart clenched with a mix of fear and resolve. What would she find in that distant city? Would the answers waiting for her bring solace or more pain? And most importantly, would Daniel's final letter, unsent and waiting, finally unveil the truth she never saw coming? Chapter 6. As Emily sat on the edge of the hotel bed in a city unfamiliar to her, she unfolded the last letter she had found among the stack Daniel had left behind. The paper trembled in her hands, each word a dagger piercing her heart. She read his words slowly, each sentence unraveling a truth she never saw coming. "My dearest Emily," the letter began, the handwriting familiar yet distant. "By the time you read this, I will be gone. Not by choice, but by fate's cruel hand. I wish I could have told you the truth myself, spared you this pain, this betrayal. But now all I can offer is honesty in written words." Tears welled up in Emily's eyes, blurring the ink on the page. She read on, her breath catching in her throat as Daniel's confession unfolded. He explained his past, his other life, the family he had before her, a life he tried to escape, a past he wanted to erase, and in his final moments, he wanted her to know the whole truth. The weight of Daniel's secrets bore down on Emily, crushing her chest with a mix of sorrow and anger. How could he have kept such a significant part of himself hidden? How could she have been so blind to the signs, the hints of his double life? Questions swirled in her mind, accusations and doubts waging a war within her, but amidst the storm of emotions, a sense of closure beckoned to her. Daniel's final words offered a glimpse of redemption, a chance for understanding. He poured his heart out in that letter, laying bare his mistakes, his regrets, his love for her. And as Emily read the last lines, a sense of peace settled over her fractured heart. "I hope you can forgive me, Emily," the letter concluded, the ink smudged with tears. "I hope you can find it in your heart to remember the good amidst the pain. I love you, always and forever." As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows in the room, Emily folded the letter back into its envelope. She wiped away her tears, feeling a mix of grief and gratitude wash over her, and in that moment she knew what she had to do. With resolve in her heart, Emily rose from the bed, her eyes set on a new path ahead. She would confront the woman who held a piece of Daniel's past, who shared in his secrets. She would seek the closure she needed, the truth she deserved. And as she stepped out into the evening cityscape, a glimmer of hope kindled in her soul, guiding her towards a future shaped by honesty and acceptance. Emily sat in the quiet train compartment, the rhythmic clacking of the tracks providing a steady soundtrack to her racing thoughts. The cityscape outside blurred into streaks of light as tears welled in her eyes. She clutched the unopened envelope in her hand, the weight of its contents heavy on her heart. As the train pulled into the station, Emily stepped out into a bustling city she had never visited before. Tall buildings loomed overhead, casting shadows on the crowded streets below. She navigated the unfamiliar surroundings with a sense of purpose, her determination overriding the knots of fear in her stomach. Following the address from the last letter, Emily found herself standing in front of a quaint townhouse. With trembling fingers, she rang the doorbell, her heart pounding in her chest. A woman opened the door, her eyes widening in surprise at the sight of Emily. "Can I help you?" the woman asked, her voice filled with curiosity. Emily took a deep breath, mustering the courage to speak. "I'm looking for Sarah. Is she here?" The woman's expression softened, a knowing look passing over her features. "I'm Sarah," she said gently. "Come in." As Emily stepped into the cozy living room, lined with photographs and memories of a life she had never known, Sarah handed her a letter. Emily recognized Daniel's handwriting immediately, the words on the page blurring before her eyes. "I'm so sorry," Sarah began, her voice tinged with sorrow. "Daniel wanted to leave us, to start over with you, but he never got the chance." Emily felt a wave of grief wash over her, mingled with a profound sense of loss. She sank into a chair, the weight of the truth bearing down on her. "He loved you, Emily," Sarah continued, her voice filled with compassion. "In his final letter he explained everything. He wanted us to know the truth." Tears streamed down Emily's face as she opened the last letter, Daniel's words leaping off the page and into her soul. In that moment, amidst the pain and the revelations, she found a sliver of peace. As she left Sarah's house, the evening sky painted in hues of gold and pink, Emily carried with her the weight of the past and the promise of a new beginning. The truth had set her free, even as it bound her to a love that transcended time and identity. Now, dear viewers, what would you do if you discovered a secret life your loved one kept hidden? Share your thoughts and feelings in the comments below. Let's navigate this emotional journey together. When Emily stepped off the bus in the unfamiliar city, her heart raced with a mix of anticipation and fear. She found herself standing in front of a quaint little cafe, the address she had been guided to by the final unsent letter she discovered from Daniel's secret box. The autumn leaves rustled in the gentle breeze, creating a sense of melancholy in the air as she pushed open the door and entered the cozy establishment. Inside, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee enveloped her senses as she scanned the room for any sign of the mysterious woman from the letters. Her eyes landed on a figure at a corner table, a woman with soft features and a contemplative expression. Their gazes met, and Emily felt a jolt of recognition, as if she had known this stranger all her life. Approaching the table, Emily's voice trembled slightly as she spoke. "Are you Sarah?" The woman nodded, her eyes mirroring Emily's emotions. Without a word, Sarah pushed a worn envelope across the table, the same envelope Emily had found in the box of letters back home. Tentatively, Emily opened the envelope, her hands shaking as she unfolded the letter inside. The words jumped out at her, written in Daniel's familiar handwriting, but with a tone she had never seen before. In those pages, Daniel poured out his heart, confessing his fears, his regrets, and his deepest love for Emily. Tears welled up in Emily's eyes as she read the final lines, where Daniel expressed his overwhelming gratitude for having her in his life and his unwavering desire for her forgiveness. The weight of his words pressed down on her chest, mingling with the confusion and sorrow she had carried since his accident. As the last sentence faded into the silence between them, Emily looked up to meet Sarah's gaze, finding understanding and empathy in those eyes. In that moment, a sense of closure washed over Emily, mingling with the pain and the love that had intertwined in her heart. With a nod of gratitude towards Sarah, Emily folded the letter carefully, knowing that in those words Daniel had bared his soul to her in a way he never had before. And as she left the cafe, the weight on her shoulders seemed a little lighter, carrying with her the truth and the love that would forever shape her understanding of the man she thought she knew. Emily stood in the middle of the bustling train station, her heart pounding in her chest. The city around her felt foreign, its energy starkly different from the quiet suburban life she knew. She clutched the unsent letter from Daniel tightly in her hand, its words burning a hole in her soul. As she navigated through the crowded streets, Emily couldn't shake the feeling of being lost in a world that wasn't meant for her. Every step felt heavier as she approached the address mentioned in the letters. The tall buildings loomed over her, casting dark shadows on the pavement below. Finally, she reached the nondescript apartment building where the mysterious woman lived. With trembling hands, Emily pressed the buzzer, her mind racing with a million questions. The door clicked open, revealing a woman who bore a striking resemblance to Daniel. The woman's eyes widened in surprise at the sight of Emily standing before her. Without a word, Emily handed her the stack of letters, each page a piece of a puzzle she never knew existed. The silence between them was suffocating, filled with unspoken truths and shattered illusions. As the woman read through the letters, her expression shifted from confusion to realization, tears glistening in her eyes. She finally looked up at Emily, her voice barely a whisper. "He loved you more than anything." In that moment, everything Emily thought she knew crumbled around her. The man she had shared her life with had a whole other existence, secrets buried deep within his heart. The weight of those revelations threatened to crush her spirit, but she held onto the unsent letter like a lifeline. With a heavy heart, Emily retraced her steps back to the train station, each footfall echoing her inner turmoil. The train ride home felt endless, the landscape blurring past her tear-filled eyes. When she finally stepped back into her empty home, the silence greeted her like a cold embrace. Alone in the dimly lit living room, Emily unfolded the unsent letter one last time. The words danced before her, a mix of regret, love, and a painful goodbye. Through the ink on the page, Daniel's voice whispered to her, confessing his sins and baring his soul. As the truth washed over her, Emily felt a strange sense of peace settle within her fractured heart. In that moment of solitude, she made peace with the past and found the strength to face an uncertain future. The journey to uncover the truth had led her back to herself, a woman reborn from the ashes of betrayal. And as the clock struck midnight, Emily finally let go of the pain, the anger, and the sorrow. In the quiet of the night, she whispered to the empty room, "Goodbye, Daniel. Goodbye, my love." As Emily sat on the edge of the bed, her hands trembling, she unfolded the last letter from the hidden box. The weight of the words within felt unbearable, yet she knew she had to confront the truth that lay before her. The letter, written in Daniel's familiar handwriting, revealed the depths of his heartache, the struggles he faced, and the life he had kept hidden from her. Each word pierced through Emily's soul, unraveling the facade of their seemingly perfect marriage. Tears blurred her vision as she read about the other identity Daniel had assumed, the name he had left behind, and the family he had tried to escape. The realization that she never truly knew the man she had shared her life with shattered her world into a million pieces. With a mix of anguish and determination, Emily decided to seek closure. She booked a flight to the city mentioned in the letters, the place where Daniel's other life existed. The journey felt like a pilgrimage into the unknown, a quest for answers that might never fully heal the wounds in her heart. As she arrived in the unfamiliar city, Emily's steps echoed with uncertainty. She found herself standing in front of a quaint house, the address from the letters staring back at her. With a deep breath, she knocked on the door, unsure of what awaited her on the other side. A woman opened the door, her eyes mirroring Emily's confusion. Without uttering a word, Emily handed her the bundle of letters, the silent messengers of a truth too painful to speak. As the woman read through the pages, a shared understanding passed between them. The tangled web of Daniel's secrets had bound them together in ways they could never have imagined. In a quiet moment of realization, the woman handed Emily a final letter, one that Daniel had written but never sent. With trembling hands, Emily opened the envelope, her heart pounding with a mix of dread and longing. The words within poured out with raw honesty, revealing Daniel's innermost thoughts, his regrets, and his love for Emily. In that moment, amidst the ruins of their shattered past, Emily found a glimmer of solace, a bittersweet closure to a chapter of her life she had never seen coming. As the sun began to set on the horizon, Emily walked away from the house, carrying the weight of the truth she had uncovered. And in the silence of the evening, she whispered a goodbye to a man she thought she knew, leaving behind the echoes of a love that had been both real and elusive. As Emily sat in the dimly lit living room, the weight of Daniel's secret pressing down on her, she couldn't shake the feeling of impending revelation. The box of letters lay open on the coffee table, their contents like ghosts from a past she never knew existed. Each word penned by her husband, yet belonging to a life she had never glimpsed. Her hands trembled as she picked up the next letter, the postmark from a city miles away, taunting her with unanswered questions. How could Daniel have another life, another family, hidden from her for so long? The image of him, always away on business trips that now seemed like elaborate excuses, clouded her mind. With a deep breath, Emily unfolded the letter, her eyes scanning the familiar handwriting that now held a foreign weight. The words painted a picture of a man she thought she knew, but who was a stranger in his own right, a man torn between two worlds, two identities, and now lost to both. As the truth unfolded before her, piece by devastating piece, Emily felt a surge of emotions, betrayal, confusion, and a profound sadness for the life she thought she had. The cozy home that once felt like a sanctuary now echoed with the ghosts of secrets long kept. In a moment of clarity, Emily stood up, her resolve firm. She would seek out the woman from the letters, confront the truth that lay hidden in the shadows of Daniel's second life. With each step towards the truth, she felt a mix of dread and determination driving her forward. The journey to the unfamiliar city was filled with a sense of surrealism, the landscapes passing by like scenes from a dream. As she finally stood before the address scribbled on the last letter, Emily's heart raced with anticipation and fear. But what she found there was beyond anything she could have imagined. The woman who opened the door, with tear-stained eyes and a trembling voice, handed Emily an unsent letter, a final confession from Daniel addressed to her. In that moment of revelation, as the truth washed over her like a tidal wave, Emily realized that some secrets were meant to be uncovered, even at the cost of shattering the reality she once knew. And as she read Daniel's final words, the pieces of his fractured life finally fell into place, leaving her with a bittersweet sense of closure and a newfound strength to face the unknown future ahead. Emily stood on the platform of the train station in a city she had never visited before. Tall buildings loomed overhead, casting long shadows over the bustling crowd. Her hands trembled as she clutched a crumpled piece of paper with an address scribbled on it, the address of the woman her husband had been writing to. Taking a deep breath, Emily hailed a taxi and gave the driver the address. The ride felt like an eternity, each passing minute filled with a mix of anticipation and dread. When the taxi finally came to a stop in front of a modest apartment building, Emily's heart raced in her chest. She climbed the steps to the third floor, her footsteps echoing in the narrow hallway. Standing in front of apartment 303, she hesitated for a moment before knocking. The door creaked open, revealing a woman with hauntingly familiar eyes. The same eyes as the ones that stared back at Emily in the mirror every day. "Can I help you?" the woman asked, her voice hesitant. Emily felt a lump form in her throat as she struggled to find the right words. I'm looking for Sarah Thompson." The woman's eyes widened in surprise. "I'm Sarah. And you are?" "I'm Emily," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm Daniel's wife." Sarah's expression darkened, her eyes narrowing in confusion. "Daniel? My Daniel passed away in a car accident a few months ago. How do you know him?" Tears welled up in Emily's eyes as she handed Sarah a worn envelope. "I found these letters. They were all addressed to you." Sarah took the envelope, her hands shaking as she read the words written by the man they both loved. As she reached the last letter, her breath caught in her throat. He was trying to leave, to start over. With you. Emily felt a rush of emotions flood over her. Grief, betrayal, and a flicker of understanding. She realized then that Daniel had been torn between two lives, two families, two loves. As Sarah and Emily sat in silence, the sound of a familiar song drifted in from the street below. Emily glanced out the window to see a street musician playing Daniel's favorite tune on his guitar. And in that moment, she knew that despite the lies and the secrets, Daniel had loved them both in his own flawed way. With tears streaming down her face, Emily opened the door to leave, but Sarah's hand on her arm stopped her. "Wait," she said softly, handing Emily a crumpled piece of paper. "He left something for you too." Emily unfolded the paper to reveal a letter addressed to her in Daniel's familiar handwriting. As she read his final words, a sense of closure washed over her, mingled with a bittersweet longing for a life that could have been. And as the sun began to set over the city, Emily and Sarah sat together, two women bound by the love they shared for a man who was no longer among them, finding solace in the untold stories of midnight letters and second lives. The city lights flickered like distant stars as Emily stood in front of the modest house where the mystery woman lived. Her heart raced with a mix of anxiety and determination. She couldn't shake the feeling that this encounter would change everything. With a deep breath, Emily knocked on the door. A middle-aged woman with kind eyes opened it, a mix of surprise and curiosity flashing across her face. Emily introduced herself, her voice trembling slightly as she mentioned Daniel's name. The woman's eyes widened in recognition. As they sat at the kitchen table, Emily learned the woman's name was Sarah, and she was Daniel's wife from his other life. The weight of the revelation pressed down on Emily's chest, but she listened as Sarah shared her side of the story, the struggles, the pain, the love that had once filled their home. Tears rolled down both women's cheeks as they realized the extent of Daniel's deception and the depth of his love for each of them in different ways. Sarah handed Emily a letter, the last one Daniel had written but never sent. With trembling hands, Emily opened it, her heart in her throat. In the letter, Daniel poured out his soul, confessing his fears, his regrets, and his unwavering love for Emily. He explained how he had tried to start anew, to leave behind a past that haunted him, a past that had collided with his present in a tragic twist of fate. As the truth unfolded before her eyes, Emily felt a mix of emotions swirling within her: anger, betrayal, but also a strange sense of compassion for the man who had led a double life out of desperation rather than malice. She realized that Daniel, flawed and broken as he was, had loved her in his own flawed way. With tears blurring her vision, Emily reached out to Sarah, their hands clasping in a silent understanding forged through pain and forgiveness. In that moment, they found solace in each other's company, two souls bound by the love of a man who had kept his secrets buried deep within him. As the night stretched on, Emily and Sarah shared stories of the man they thought they knew, finding closure in each other's presence, and as the first light of dawn broke through the darkness, a sense of peace settled over them. a peace born from the truth they had uncovered and the bonds they had forged in the midst of chaos. In the end, as Emily bid farewell to Sarah, a sense of gratitude washed over her. Gratitude for the chance to unravel the mysteries of Daniel's second life, to discover the hidden depths of his heart, and to find a kind of closure that only honesty and understanding could bring. And as she drove back home, the weight of the truth she had uncovered lifted from her shoulders, leaving behind a sense of liberation and a glimmer of hope for the future. Emily sat in her living room, surrounded by the echoing silence of her once cozy home. The weight of the truth she had uncovered pressed heavily on her chest, suffocating her with each passing moment. The box of letters lay open on the coffee table, their contents a stark reminder of the life her husband had led in secret. As she read through each letter, the words blurred together, forming a tangled web of deceit and betrayal. Daniel's other life, with another woman and another family, unfolded before her eyes like a cruel joke. How could he have kept such a massive secret hidden from her for so long? With trembling hands, Emily reached for the last letter in the box, the one Daniel had written but never sent. The words leaped off the page, raw with emotion and regret. In that moment, she felt a surge of anger and disbelief, but beneath it all, a sliver of something else lingered. A desperate need to understand, to find closure in the midst of the chaos. In a haze of conflicting emotions, Emily made a decision. She would travel to the city where the letters were postmarked, confront the woman who had unknowingly shared her life with Daniel. The journey ahead was fraught with uncertainty, but she knew she had to unravel the tangled threads of her husband's deceit. The city greeted her with unfamiliar sights and sounds, a stark contrast to the suburban life she had known. With each step, Emily felt her resolve waver, the weight of the truth threatening to crush her spirit. But deep within her, a flicker of determination burned bright. As she finally stood before the woman who had shared a life with Daniel, Emily's heart raced with a mix of dread and anticipation. The woman's eyes held a mirror to her own pain, a silent understanding passing between them without words. And then, as if guided by an unseen hand, Emily found herself handing over the unsent letter, the key to unlocking the truth that had eluded her for so long. As the woman read Daniel's final words, a hush fell over them, a moment of shared grief and revelation. And in that quiet space, Emily found a measure of peace, a glimmer of acceptance amidst the wreckage of her shattered reality. The truth had been laid bare, the secrets of her husband's second life finally revealed. And as she turned to leave, a single question lingered in the air, begging to be answered. Could she ever find it in her heart to forgive the man she thought she knew? The once familiar streets of the city felt foreign to Emily as she navigated her way to the address mentioned in the letters. Her heart raced with a mixture of anxiety and determination. She had to confront the truth, no matter how painful it might be. Upon reaching the door of a quaint little house, Emily took a deep breath and knocked. A middle-aged woman with kind eyes answered, her expression shifting from surprise to recognition. "Emily," the woman whispered, as if trying to comprehend the surreal moment unfolding before her. Emily nodded, her voice barely a whisper as she asked, "Are you Sarah?" Tears welled up in Sarah's eyes as she ushered Emily inside, leading her to a cozy living room filled with photographs and mementos. Emily's eyes caught sight of a picture frame holding a photo of a man she recognized all too well, Daniel, but with a different name attached. Sarah handed Emily the unsent letter, her hands trembling with emotion. As Emily read the words penned by Daniel, her heart shattered into a million pieces. The letter revealed his inner turmoil, his regrets, and his overwhelming love for Emily. Through tear-blurred vision, Emily whispered, "Why? Why didn't he tell me?" Sarah's voice quivered as she confessed, "He was trying to protect you, to shield you from the pain he carried. He wanted to start anew, to make things right. Silence enveloped the room, heavy with unspoken words and emotions too raw to bear. Emily realized the depth of Daniel's sacrifice, the weight of his secrets, and the extent of his love for her. As the evening sun painted the room in a warm hue, Emily and Sarah found solace in each other's presence. They shared memories of Daniel, of the man who lived a double life, but whose heart belonged solely to Emily. In that moment of shared grief and understanding, Emily found a sense of closure. She knew that Daniel's love transcended boundaries, his soul intertwined with hers in ways she could never have imagined. With the unsent letter clutched to her chest, Emily left Sarah's house, her heart heavy yet strangely light. She had found the missing piece of the puzzle, the truth she never saw coming. As she drove back to her quiet suburban life, Emily realized that the love Daniel had for her, even in his silence, would forever be engraved in the midnight letters that bridged their worlds and hearts together. Emily stood in the dimly lit room, surrounded by the eerie silence that seemed to hang heavily in the air. The faint glow from the streetlights outside cast a soft illumination through the window, highlighting the framed paintings adorning the walls of her cozy home. But her attention was fixated on the single locked drawer in Daniel's desk, a seemingly innocuous piece of furniture that now held a weight of uncertainty and betrayal. After Daniel's sudden car accident, Emily's world had been turned upside down. As she struggled to come to terms with the loss of her husband, she found herself drawn to the locked drawer, a nagging voice inside her urging her to uncover the secrets it held. With trembling hands, Emily managed to pry open the drawer, her heart pounding in her chest as she unearthed a hidden box of letters. Postmarked from another city, the letters were all written by Daniel, yet addressed to a woman she had never heard of. Each word felt like a dagger to Emily's heart, unraveling a tale of deception and deceit she never could have imagined. As she read through the letters, her eyes welled up with tears, her mind struggling to process the truth they unveiled. Daniel had another life, another identity, another family that he had been trying to escape from before his tragic accident. The weight of his betrayal crushed down on Emily, leaving her feeling adrift in a sea of lies and half-truths. But just when she thought she had uncovered the full extent of Daniel's deception, a twist of fate revealed itself. Tucked at the bottom of the box was one last letter, unsent and addressed to her. With trembling hands, Emily unfolded the paper, her eyes scanning the words that laid bare the truth she had been searching for. In that final letter, Daniel explained everything. He confessed to his past mistakes, his regrets, his fears. He laid bare his soul, bearing his vulnerabilities in a way he never had before. And as Emily read his words, she found herself torn between anger and heartache, between love and betrayal. Driven by a newfound sense of resolve, Emily made a decision. She would travel to that city, confront the woman who had unknowingly shared her life with Daniel. She would seek closure, seek answers, seek the truth that had been so cruelly kept from her. As she packed her bags and set out on her journey, Emily couldn't help but wonder, would she find solace in the revelations that awaited her, or would she be plunged even deeper into the darkness that now threatened to consume her? Emily stood in the middle of her living room, the soft glow of the lamp casting shadows on the walls adorned with paintings she and Daniel had collected over the years. The weight of the revelation from the letters pressed down on her, suffocating her in a reality she never fathomed. Her hands trembled as she held the final letter in the box, the paper crisp under her touch. Daniel's words danced in front of her eyes, a melody of secrets and regrets he could never voice in person. Each stroke of the pen revealed a side of him she never knew, a life he led in parallel to the one they shared. As she read his words, a knot formed in her stomach, tightening with each sentence. The truth unraveled before her, exposing the tangled web of deception her husband had woven around them. The man she thought she knew, the man she loved with every fiber of her being, was a stranger wearing a familiar face. Emily's heart ached with a mix of betrayal and disbelief. How could she have missed the signs? The subtle hints of a life lived in shadows. Was their love a mere illusion, a mirage built on lies and half-truths? In a daze, Emily made a decision. She would travel to the city mentioned in the letters, the place where Daniel's other life resided. She needed answers, closure, a chance to confront the ghosts haunting their marriage. The road stretched endlessly before her, the city lights beckoning like a lighthouse in a stormy sea. With each passing mile, doubts and fears clawed at her resolve, threatening to pull her back into the safety of ignorance. When she finally reached her destination, the truth awaited her like a spectre in the night. Standing in front of the address, written in Daniel's elegant script, Emily's heart raced with anticipation and dread. But as she knocked on the door, a woman opened it, her eyes mirroring Emily's confusion and pain. In that moment of shared understanding, Emily saw the fragments of a life shattered by secrets and lies. And then, in a cruel twist of fate, the woman handed Emily a letter, Daniel's final confession, his farewell to a life he could never fully escape. In those words, written with love and regret, Emily found a sliver of solace, a balm for the wounds left by a love lost in the shadows of a second life. Emily sat in the dimly lit living room, surrounded by the ever-present scent of oil paint and turpentine. The weight of Daniel's absence lingered heavily in the air, suffocating her with unanswered questions and unspoken truths. The box of letters sat before her on the coffee table, its contents like a silent accusation of betrayal. With trembling hands, Emily picked up the first letter, the paper worn and creased from years of hiding. The words danced before her eyes, Daniel's handwriting a familiar yet foreign sight. Each letter revealed a piece of him she had never known, a life he had carefully concealed from her. As she read through the pages, a kaleidoscope of emotions washed over her: anger, betrayal, heartbreak, each feeling vying for dominance within her shattered heart. How could Daniel have kept such a profound secret from her, from the life they had built together? A cold realization settled in as Emily reached the last letter in the box. The truth stared back at her, stark and unyielding. Daniel had not been the man she thought he was. He had lived a double life, with another name, another family waiting in a distant city. A family he had intended to leave behind before fate intervened. The weight of Daniel's deceit crushed her spirit, leaving her gasping for air in a world suddenly devoid of trust and love. The cozy home she had shared with him felt like a prison now, its walls closing in around her with suffocating finality. But amidst the ruins of her shattered dreams, a small glimmer of hope ignited within Emily. With newfound resolve, she made a decision that would lead her on a journey to confront the ghost of Daniel's past, to seek the truth he had denied her. Packing a bag with a few essentials, Emily left behind the remnants of her old life and boarded a bus to the city where Daniel's secrets lay buried. With each passing mile, her heart beat a rhythm of anticipation and dread, uncertainty and determination warring within her soul. As the bus rolled into the city, Emily's hands trembled with a mixture of fear and resolve. She was on the brink of a revelation, a confrontation that would either shatter her beyond repair or set her free from the lies that had bound her for so long. The truth awaited her in a small apartment on a quiet street, where a final, unsent letter lay waiting to reveal the depths of Daniel's deception. And as Emily stood on the threshold of that fateful moment, she knew that her life would never be the same again. What would you do if you discovered your spouse had a secret life? Share your thoughts below. Emily's heart pounded as she stood at the entrance of the small, quaint house in the unfamiliar city. The scent of freshly cut grass mingled with a hint of autumn chill in the air. She took a deep breath, steeling herself for what she was about to uncover. The door creaked open, revealing a woman with kind eyes and a warm smile, Rebecca, the recipient of Daniel's letters. There was a moment of silent understanding between the two women, connected by the man they both loved in different ways. Rebecca invited Emily inside, leading her to a cozy living room filled with family photos and the faint sound of children playing in the background. Emily's eyes lingered on the frames, each one a piece of a puzzle she never knew existed. As they sat facing each other, Rebecca hesitantly handed Emily a worn envelope. Inside, a letter penned by Daniel awaited her, his familiar handwriting bringing a rush of emotions. In his words, he poured out his inner turmoil, his regrets, and his unspoken love for Emily. The truth unfolded in each stroke of the pen, revealing a man torn between two lives. Tears welled up in Emily's eyes as she read through the letter, feeling the weight of Daniel's secrets finally laid bare. The depth of his struggle, the hidden battles he fought alone, became painfully clear to her. With shaking hands, Emily reached for Rebecca's, seeking solace in this unexpected connection. In that moment, two women bound by the same man found a fragile bond of understanding and empathy. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the room, Emily made a decision. She would carry Daniel's truths with her, honoring his memory and the love they shared in their own unique way. Standing outside Rebecca's house, Emily unfolded the final unsent letter addressed to her. In those last words, Daniel expressed his undying love, his profound remorse, and his hope for forgiveness. And in that instant, as the wind whispered through the trees, Emily found a sense of closure she never thought possible. The chapter had closed on Daniel's second life, but for Emily, a new chapter of healing and acceptance was just beginning. As she drove back home, the weight of the past slowly lifted from her shoulders, replaced by a glimmer of hope for the future. Questions for the audience. Have you ever discovered a hidden truth that changed everything you knew? How far would you go to uncover the secrets of a loved one? What would you do if you found out someone you trusted had a whole other life? Emily's heart raced as she found herself standing on the doorstep of a modest house in a quiet neighborhood in Toronto, Canada. She had followed the trail of Daniel's hidden letters, leading her to this unexpected destination. With a deep breath, she knocked on the door, bracing herself for the moment that would change everything. A woman in her late 40s opened the door, her eyes widening in surprise at the sight of Emily standing there, holding a stack of letters in her trembling hands. Emily could see the resemblance between the woman and Daniel, a resemblance that confirmed her worst fears. "I'm Emily," she began, her voice barely above a whisper. I think we need to talk." The woman's name was Susan, Daniel's first wife, the one he had left behind in pursuit of a new life. As they sat down in the cozy living room, Emily unfolded the letters, each word a painful revelation of a life she never knew existed. Susan listened in stunned silence, tears welling up in her eyes as she realized the depth of Daniel's deception. "He told me he loved me," Susan said softly, her voice breaking. "I never knew he had another life, another family." Emily's heart ached for the woman sitting across from her, a woman whose world had also been shattered by the secrets of a man they both thought they knew. Together, they pieced together the fragments of Daniel's dual existence, each letter painting a portrait of a man torn between two worlds. As they reached the final letter, Emily's hands trembled with emotion. The letter was addressed to her, a letter that Daniel had never sent, a letter that held the truth she had been seeking since the day she found the hidden box. In his words, Daniel confessed his deepest regrets, his love for both women, and his overwhelming guilt for the pain he had caused. He spoke of a desire for redemption, a longing for forgiveness that now lay in the hands of those he had hurt the most. Emily and Susan sat in silence, enveloped by the weight of Daniel's words. In that moment, they found a connection forged by betrayal and loss, a connection that transcended their shared pain. As Emily left Susan's house that evening, carrying the unsent letter close to her heart, she knew that the journey to forgiveness had only just begun. And as the midnight letters whispered their secrets in the darkness, Emily understood that sometimes the truth we seek is not always the truth we are prepared to face. As Emily stood in the unfamiliar streets of the city Daniel had kept secret from her, her heart raced with a mixture of anger, betrayal, and an insatiable thirst for the truth. The letters she had discovered had shattered her world, revealing a side of her husband she never knew existed. She couldn't comprehend how he could lead a double life, deceive her with such precision, and leave behind a family he never mentioned. With each step towards the address written on the last letter, Emily's emotions swirled like a storm inside her. She knocked on the door, uncertainty gripping her chest. A woman opened it, her eyes mirroring Emily's confusion. In a trembling voice, Emily asked about the man who wrote those letters, the man she thought she knew. The woman's face softened as she handed Emily the unsent letter. With tears blurring her vision, Emily read Daniel's final words. In them, he poured out his soul, confessing his mistakes, his fear, and his unwavering love for Emily. He explained how he had tried to escape a past that haunted him, how he had failed to find the courage to be honest with her until it was too late. As the weight of Daniel's truth settled on her shoulders, Emily felt a wave of empathy wash over her. She realized that behind his deceit lay a man tormented by his own demons, a man who had loved her deeply despite his flaws. The complexity of human nature, the fragility of relationships, and the power of forgiveness intertwined in that moment of epiphany. In the quiet of that unfamiliar living room, Emily and the other woman shared a moment of silent understanding, a shared grief for the man they both loved in different ways. And as Emily left that city behind, she carried with her not just the weight of betrayal, but also the lightness of forgiveness and the wisdom that sometimes love is not enough to conquer the darkness within us. The story of Emily, Daniel, and the woman from the letters echoed in the minds of those who read it, prompting them to reflect on the complexities of human relationships, the masks we wear to conceal our truths, and the bittersweet dance of love and loss. As the final words lingered in the hearts of the audience, one question remained unspoken. How well do we truly know the ones we love?